ago, in a quiet village surrounded by paddy fields, Jack and his kind mother lived in an old thatched cottage. The house was sparsely furnished with only a wobbly table and 2 stools. Outside, they had a small vegetable garden, and not far from it stood a cowshed on the brink of collapse. Their only asset, an elderly cow, provided them with just a bowl of thin milk each day. As spring came, with trees sprouting young leaves and birds singing, their circumstances grew increasingly difficult. One clear morning, as dew still hung on the eaves of the cottage, Jack was woken by his mother. "Jack," she said, "the cow has stopped giving milk. We must sell it so we can buy food." With a heavy heart, Jack led their cow down the familiar path, heading to the market. On the long and dusty road, he encountered an old man in tattered clothing, whose deep blue, wise eyes seemed to penetrate Jack's soul. The old man spoke, his voice deep and melodic. "Young man, why not trade your cow for these glittering magic beans? They are worth a fortune and can bring you wealth and adventure." Returning home, Jack excitedly showed the beans to his mother, but her face immediately fell. Her voice trembled with disappointment and anger. "You foolish child! We need money and food, not some useless beans." She snatched the beans and flung them out into the dark night, where they glittered like shooting stars flying off into the distant undergrowth. The 2 of them ended the day amidst exhaustion and hunger. When the next day's morning light pierced through the thin curtains, an unusual shadow loomed within the cabin. Jack rubbed his eyes in disbelief against what he saw, a gigantic beanstalk sprouting from their small garden, stretching into the cloud-cloaked sky above. The vines were entwined, and the leaves were as broad as green canopies, with each stalk stout enough to bear Jack's weight. Without hesitation, Jack grabbed the beanstalk and climbed like a nimble squirrel into the gateway of a new world. Through thick clouds, Jack discovered a vast land where a massive, mist-wrapped castle stood majestically. The castle was ancient and dignified, with the stones modeled by the tick of time. Jack slipped through the gates that were lined with many sharp spikes and into the castle. Inside, it was opulent with gold and jewels scattered about, and the vaulted ceiling was painted with angels and mythological creatures. As he looked around in astonishment, a soporific breath swept over him. Jack realized a giant was fast asleep on his bed of gold. Jack's heart pounded as he tiptoed around the giant's chamber, eyeing the surroundings. He was gradually drawn to a shiny golden egg in the deep part of the room. The egg was placed on an exquisitely crafted tray, adorned with rare gems on its rim. When Jack thought that this egg might be the source of the giant's wealth, his decision became clear. It could solve the poverty he and his mother suffered. Jack gently lifted the golden egg and secreted it away in a bag, then repeated the deed the following day. But in this last theft, the giant was woken by a speck of dust raised by Jack's careless movement in a breeze. The giant groggily rubbed his eyes and sniffed the scent of a human. His features contorted in anger, with traces of rage etched onto his jut-jawed face. "Fee-fee-fo-fum, who dares intrude my castle?" His bellow was thunderous, cutting through the former quietude. The entire castle trembled with his motion. Jack, in horror, realized there was no place left to hide. He surveyed the giant as his eyes slowly neared Jack's hideout. With his heart racing, he realized the imminent peril of his life as the giant's hand reached for his hiding place. At that moment, the chirp of a bird distracted the giant, and Jack seized this brief opportunity, slipping down the beanstalk quietly like a leaf, desperately descending. The giant realized Jack's escape and roared in pursuit. After a strenuous climb back to the ground, Jack nearly tumbled down the beanstalk, landing in his mother's embrace. He gasped for breath, urging his mother to bring the axe. With the axe in hand, Jack hacked away at the base of the beanstalk, and after a few blows, the stalk began to sway. Looking upward, Jack saw the giant nearing with a vengeful glare. With one final, forceful swing, Jack jumped away as the beanstalk snapped, bringing the giant crashing down with a thunderous boom. The villagers, hearing the deafening crash, ran out from their homes. The sight of the fallen giant evoked a chorus of awe. From then on, Jack and his mother no longer had to worry about poverty, and the neighbors came to celebrate the joyous moment, lauding Jack's bravery and wisdom. They lived happily thereafter, and Jack's tale became a legend, inspiring all who heard his story.